We have an exciting video today because what we're talking about is when will Tesla stock explode? There's a couple of key catalysts that I want to explain in this video that I don't think certainly hedge funds and institutions understand. And I don't think a lot of retail investors understand this. And the timeline is important. There's a couple of different things that are happening soon that could speed up when Tesla stock explodes next. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I will also share kind of my expectations around this week, because this week is the most important week we've had in months. From an economic data perspective, we talked about it in the last video. You have GDP, you have PCE, you have JOLTS job openings, you have non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. You have the Fed meeting on Wednesday. From an earnings perspective, Visa, MasterCard, Apple, Amazon, Qualcomm, like the list goes on and on. Okay. There's so much we're going to get this week. And I do think we could see something quite decisive, a change, if you will, in the market's perception. And I'll explain that in this video as well. First and foremost, I'm going to ask you to do two things in this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are someone that is looking to strive for outsized returns, invest in small cap companies before Wall Street knows about them. Like Nebius, I was first to that. I was first to apply digital. I was first to the quantum computing wave that has recently hit markets. IONQ, as that was my big quantum computing play. Novartis Semiconductor, there's example after example here. And I pride myself in being early, but not wrong. I can be early to something, but I'm usually not wrong. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Contact one before you make an investment decision, and understand if you trade anything else anyone does blindly, you will probably lose money as a basic principle. Check that link out down below in the description of this video. If you would like to join now a community over 100 members strong, I personally think the best, hands down, trading community, investing community in the entire world. Link down below in the description of this video. But let's get into today's episode, okay? When is Tesla stock going to explode? When are we going to see another big rally? Well, from kind of an 10,000 feet point of view, the stock has very low expectations at this point. From a delivery perspective, from, an Elon political behavioral perspective, from an AI perspective, nobody is super bullish on Tesla right now. Even the bulls are like, okay, things could go well, but we're not like super bullish. That is usually precisely the moment you want to be bullish. So from a psychological perspective, I think all of the right things are in play right now for Tesla. Okay. Doesn't mean the stock is going to imminently explode, but I think the setup is there. Okay. There's a couple things you need to know. There is an older saying on Wall Street called "there is no other alternative." TINA is what they used to call it. COVID was a great example of this, but it was widely used really ever since like 08, 09. There's no other alternative. What that meant was there was no other alternative to stocks. You had to put your money in stocks. That was the only alternative. Bonds didn't pay you enough to own them. There wasn't really crypto at the time, but crypto is here to stay. Specifically, this I think is a reference to bonds, right? More than any other asset class, by far. There's something important happening this week that I previously mentioned. That is the Fed meeting. Okay, we're not expecting any action from the Fed this Wednesday. But what we are expecting is the Fed to give us a guideline for rate cuts starting in September. The markets are currently pricing in a rate cut in September. Why this is important is think back to 2020 when there was no other alternative. You had to put your money in stocks because bonds paid you like 0.5%. Tesla stock hit its what was prior all-time high during the rally in 2021 because there was no other alternative. Rates were low. So what happened back in 2020 is Wall Street started to say, hey, I don't care what Tesla does this year. I don't care what Tesla does next year. It's the year after that and the year after that and the year after that that are going to be substantial for Tesla. Well, now we're at a moment where we're about to get a bunch of rate cuts over the next 12 months, 18, 24 months. And Tesla is right at the cusp of going mainstream with their AI projects, even with something like Optimus as well. But rates are so high that taking a risk in a stock like Tesla that's going to take some years to see those exponential gains, again, this is from a Wall Street perspective, doesn't sound as great. But once you start the process of actually cutting rates, it does two things. Strengthens the economy and the consumer, and it boosts long duration assets. So that's why like growth stocks and small caps tend to do well when rates are low, is because people take a longer term view on those investments. For an example, if you can get 4.5% on a 10-year treasury yield versus, which is 45%, right, over 10 years, risk-free, versus if you can get 2% in a 10-year treasury yield, which is 20% over the course of 10 years, again, risk-free, you look at where you put your money differently. A lot of people are going to be content with 4.5%. I don't blame you if you have millions and millions and millions of dollars. But 2%? It's not as good. And again, the markets are a discounting mechanism. So they price these things in ahead of time. Once we hear this Wednesday that we're likely to get rate cuts and inflation may not be as bad as expected, and if it's not, we're going to get more rate cuts, that opens the door for longer term projections. Right now, Wall Street's looking like 12 months out. You could start to see the narrative shift towards, I don't even care what happens in 2026. What's it look like? What's Tesla look like in 2027? What's the robotaxi network and Optimus sales look like in 2027? Okay. Even as far out as 2030 could start to be a topic of conversation. So people don't buy a stock based on what's happening today. And I think a lot of retail doesn't understand this well, whereas all of Wall Street understands this. Nobody buys a stock based on what a company is doing today or what they did last quarter or last year or 10 years ago. People only ever buy a stock because of what they expect to happen in the future. Okay. Again, if I look at where the sentiment is for Tesla and the expectation of the future, it's not that optimistic. It's probably at one of the low points that I've seen in a long time, which is quite contrary to what's actually happening in the Tesla business. We had earnings. Elon warned of a couple rough quarters. Okay, fine. Elon says what he thinks and how he feels, and that may or may not happen. What he did was lower the bar a lot. So especially with rate cuts, maybe the outlook for vehicle sales could get better. I think there's a lot of people out there that got vehicles in the last couple of years that would love to upgrade, but rates are too expensive. I think that goes for, homes and anything that has to do with really rates in general. There's a real appetite, I believe, for lower interest rates. And I think that does spur the economy, which is, again, something else we could get into that's positive for the consumer, right? The big, beautiful bill, a lot of positive provisions in there, like being able to write off interest on vehicle loans, American-made vehicles or American-assembled vehicles, at least. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. A lot of this could be directly beneficial to a company like Tesla. And after watching vehicle delivery expectations come down so much, I mean, we started this year, a lot of people thought Tesla is going to produce 2.3 million, 2.2 million deliveries. Now we're like 1.5 million for the whole year, 1.6 million for the full year. What are the odds that we could see next year's expected delivery numbers actually go up quite a bit? I think the odds of that are good, okay? Especially when you look at the comps, right? If we deliver 1.6 million vehicles this year, and then next year, maybe expectations are 2.1 million. The growth on that's going to look good, okay? So comps start to get easier once you get into 2026. Okay, because you're comping, Q1, which was not exactly a great quarter. You're going to be comping Q2, which was not exactly a great quarter. Q3 should be a pretty good quarter. Q4 typically is the best quarter for Tesla, but we'll see what happens this time around. And Wall Street, as they price these things in ahead of time, are going to say, okay, comps are going to get a lot better. You're probably going to see continued expansion of the robotaxi network. You may start to see the first maybe deals of Optimus coming next year. That's also great for the stock. So when I put all of these things together and I see Tesla at $417 per share with ultra low expectations and things that are going to improve over the next 12, 24 months, with the sentiment where it is, honestly, I'm surprised Tesla is as low as it is. I am and I'm not, because I don't think Wall Street's the most intelligent group of people. But it's surprising how not bullish a lot of retail investors are. This is the optimal time in which you want to be buying a stock, is when expectations are low and Wall Street is wrong. See, the function of making money has nothing to do with consensus. If a company meets consensus, that's not a good stock to own, right? If consensus is here and maybe you're over here, like you're way more bullish than consensus. If you're right, you're going to make a lot of money. If consensus is right and things are not better than you thought, right? You're not going to make money. I think consensus is like here, and it should probably be over here. People should probably be more bullish on Tesla. From a delivery number perspective, especially for next year, and overall, again, interest rates coming down tends to benefit car companies exponentially more than other industries and other sectors. So again, you just kind of had a sandbag earnings. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wall Street start to get, again, incrementally more bullish on Tesla, as it sounds like from the earnings call. I've talked about this before since the earnings call, but it sounds like Tesla is going to launch in Florida pretty soon, definitely launch in the Phoenix area pretty soon, and there is negotiations or talks going on to launch in the Vegas area. It's only a matter of time. And Atlanta is probably coming shortly thereafter, New York, right? The progress is going to start becoming a lot more obvious for Wall Street from that perspective. Now, something else I think is really big that a lot of Wall Street is going to be overlooking for now is Elon Musk and his compensation package. Like, people can say this and that about Elon. He's not doing a great job as CEO, blah, blah, blah. He's not getting paid to be the CEO. In what world does anyone work for free? I don't care how much money they have. Would you go to your job for free for 5 years? Probably not. Okay. Definitely not. Elon has no financial incentive or no real incentive at all, besides bragging rights, to say anything positive about Tesla ever. Never. Like, I'm surprised Elon does say anything positive about Tesla, because he's getting a new compensation package hopefully soon. The higher Tesla stock is, the worse off it is for him, right? Because then it's going to be even harder to get paid out and to get compensation. Have to, see the stock, go up much more than you would otherwise have to. I'm optimistic by November 6th, we could get a new comp package for Elon. And I think you're going to see a new and improved Elon, an Elon that really hyper fixates on creating shareholder value, getting the stock to go up. I think on a routine basis, you're going to hear some pretty damn bullish shit from Elon on Tesla. I mean, he says bullish things from time to time, but I think you're really going to get an Elon that works in shareholders' favor instead of an Elon that is largely in the past 2 to 3 years that has worked against shareholders. Again, I don't think Elon like subconsciously says, oh yeah, I'm going to destroy shareholders today. But he doesn't make a conscious effort, I can tell you that for sure, to work with shareholders. Okay, and that's just the facts. Now, when I look at all of this, again, from a 10,000 feet point of view, I see rates going lower. I see an economy that is okay, that likely can improve for the lower income earners with, again, provisions in the big, beautiful bill. With rates coming down, could be very stimulative to the auto market. I see Elon getting a compensation package, which, will allow Elon to start working for shareholders, not against them largely. I see a setup where Tesla's expectations are very low. Nobody really has high expectations at all for Tesla. It sounds like a perfect setup into the end of this year, into next year, and beyond. Okay. And that's really what I'm focused on. Anything can happen in the next month, 2, 3 months, whatever. Okay, we're actually heading into a pretty rough seasonal period for markets in August. And then in really like the September area, October has some dicey seasonality for half the month as well. November and December tend to be really strong months. Again, coincides with what will likely be the launch of a Model 2. Hopefully Elon getting his compensation package approved on November 6th. I'm hoping that's going to go up for a vote. And heading into a strong year of robotaxi expansion with lower rates, strong economy, or decent economy, that is. Trade deals that are done, geopolitical conflicts that are resolved, a focus on AI. That makes me very optimistic. Now, I don't know where Tesla's going to end, this year or whatnot. But I can tell you from my perspective and my point of view, again, I'm not a financial advisor, it looks like a very optimal time to own Tesla. Like, I always think about what could go wrong, right? A base case, best case, worst case scenario, if you will. I think you're already pretty well at the worst case scenario from an expectations perspective. Like, could something go wrong with robotaxi? Sure. That's in the worst case scenario, category. Is it going to? Probably not. Could it? Sure. From a delivery perspective, I think you're already at one of the, worst case scenario, as long as we avoid a recession. If we go into a recession, we have bigger issues anyways. From a robotaxi expansion effort, I can tell you by the stock, what the stock has done, where the stock is at. Don't really have high hopes for that either. Optimus, nobody cares about Optimus at this point. It seems like the moment where the risk reward looks great for Tesla. So that's what I can tell you. And I do think by the end of this year, November, December, that's when we should start to see the stock really make that run to new all-time highs. Potentially be, $500-$600 per share. I know I haven't talked about that in a while, but I do think Tesla could end this year in the 500s, pushing 600, especially if the Fed does start to signal rate cuts in any kind of, large way. Hopefully inflation is not an issue by then. That also makes a big deal. So I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people are looking at Tesla in the wrong way. They're not looking at what's coming next. They're really focused on where we are right now. You never make money by focusing on where we are right now. You always have to look out into the future, the next 1, 2, 3 years, and say, Where does Wall Street think this company is going to be? Where do I think this company is going to be? And then you can start to look at probabilities of that happening. What's the probability that there's not much progress on robotaxis? We go into some kind of deep recession and, nothing, deliveries suck for Tesla, blah, blah, blah. What's the chance of that over the next couple of years? I think probably very, very low. What's the odds that we do scale to dozens of cities for robotaxi in the next 12 months? And we could have a couple thousand robotaxis out on the road. I think the odds of that are pretty damn good. What are the odds that we're going to avoid a recession? I think the odds of that are pretty damn good. What are the odds that Optimus could actually start some commercial sales in the back half of next year? I think probably pretty good for simple tasks. Okay. Wall Street is nowhere even close to those kind of expectations. So I do think by the end of this year, we're probably going to be sitting much higher than where we are today. But again, it's not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Contact financial advisor if none of this makes any sense or before you make a financial decision. Don't be a jackass. If you invest blindly, go all in at one time or do some stupid reckless shit, you're always going to lose money. There's my disclaimer. Ladies and gentlemen, check out that link down below in the description of this video if you would like to check out the trading community. Nonetheless, that is it. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you in the next one.